Hi guys, it's Ray here from Man City Fan TV. Today I want to talk about the Spurs Stadium fiasco, the debacle, the disgrace that is the Spurs Stadium situation. Just to give you a recap of what's happened over the summer and since the start of the season. You'll remember that Spurs moved into Wembley last season as they were redeveloping their ground. The idea being that I think they said they'd be in the new stadium at the start of the season. That wasn't going to happen, so they said they'll play a few games at Wembley, and they got a bending of the rules, let's say, by the FA Premier League to allow them to do that. Because normally the rules state you're supposed to play just at one home venue throughout the whole season. So they got this special dispensation, let's say, to allow them to play a few games at Wembley and then the rest at White Hart Lane. Unfortunately, their stadium is still not ready. And if you've seen the video footage recently from the stadium, it's far from ready. And it's going to take several more weeks at best to be ready, to get the safety certificates and everything else sorted out and have it ready to host Premier League games, or any game for that matter. So the situation for City was we were supposed to play Spurs down in London at their new home ground on the 28th of October. That was a Sunday. Sky had picked that game for TV, which meant it moved from Saturday to Sunday. So far, so good. But Spurs are not going to be ready. They're worried, and so they should be, that the stadium won't be ready in time. They can't go to use Wembley, apparently, because it's an NFL game, American football, that weekend. So there's a clash. And so they're looking at various different options. I think they actually approached City to see if we could play the game in Manchester. And we said no, but that's really unfair on us because we'd have ended the season with 4 away games. And if you're fighting for the title at the end of the season, you don't really want to be playing 4 away games, especially 1 away at Spurs in the last month of the season. So City said no to that. They looked at various other options. They couldn't obviously go back to Wembley. There was talk of Twickenham. But that would actually mean the 3rd home ground of the season for Spurs, when you got to remember the rule state there's only 1 allowed. So it's getting quite ridiculous, this. And then there was rumours a few weeks ago that they might look to play on the Monday, which was the 29th of October. And today, in one of the papers, I think it was in the Times, they said that City and Spurs had agreed to play the game on the 29th of October. Now, you've got to look at the fixture list. It does look quite ridiculous. We could already have a backlog of fixtures in October, early November, which is ludicrous, to be quite honest. I can't believe City have agreed to this. Something's got to give, because if you actually look at our fixture list, we've got the Spurs game potentially on the 29th now. If we beat Oxford in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup, the next round of fixtures, the 4th round, would be at the end of October, Tuesday the 30th or Wednesday the 31st. Now, that wouldn't give us any time to recover after a game on the Monday. And then if you look at the weekend following that, we've got Liverpool away on the Sunday. So I really don't know where we're going to fit this Carabao Cup fixture in unless they play it on the Thursday. So if you look at our potential fixture list that week, it's absolutely ridiculous. We could play Spurs on Monday evening. We could be playing the Carabao Cup, let's say Thursday, which will give us 3 days break. We'll play Liverpool on the Sunday, which will give us 3 days break again. And then we'll be facing Shakhtar Donetsk on the following Wednesday. So I think that's ridiculous to play 4 games in 9 or 10 days just because of Spurs. At least if we're playing on the Sunday as we're supposed to, that would give us a few days rest. You know, we could play the game on the Tuesday. Yes, it only gives us 3 days before the Carabao Cup game in the 4th round if we're there, but at least it gives us 4 days before Liverpool. You know, we shouldn't be playing every 3 days, every 3 days, and every 3 days. It's far too much and far too early in the season. And you've got to remember, it's off the back of the World Cup in the summer. So some of our players, you know, you can tell, you can feel they're still a bit legged. They're just not up to speed yet. They're still not over the World Cup exertions. And it's an absolutely ridiculous situation, purely of Spurs' own making. Now, I've said before, what Spurs should have done was book Wembley for 2 seasons. Say, look, we're not sure if we're going to be ready in time. And let's just put Wembley up for 2 seasons. I feel obviously there's other reasons as to why they've not done that, whether it's greed, whether they make more money by being at their home ground. Obviously they're really annoying their fans who paid for season tickets, and obviously that might affect the goodwill of their fans and their support in the following season, because obviously they don't want to be messed around, and some of them are paying thousands for these season tickets with hospitality involved, etc. So it's not a great situation for their home fans, and I know from looking at some Spurs forums and fan sites that they're really not happy with this situation at all. So what should be done? Well, City shouldn't have agreed to this. They should have said, no, give us the 3 points or get lost. There was a potential that the Spurs could have gone to another London stadium. I believe that the Emirates would have been free to use that weekend, and so would the London stadium where West Ham play. And they're both 60,000 plus stadiums, so I don't see why yes, Spurs would have been really unhappy to play at either of those venues, and maybe those clubs would have said no, or they would have charged Spurs an arm and a leg to let them play there. But I just don't see why City have gone down this route to appease Spurs. What's in it for us? What are we actually going to gain by making our players have one fewer rest day and squeezing all those games into such a short space of time? I've said in the past as well, I think Spurs should be fined, and heavily fined, by the FA Premier League, or whoever. Any City fan who's suffered a loss and, for argument's sake, they can't get their train fare or their travel fare or their accommodation refunded, Spurs should cough up for that, the full price, no quibbles. Maybe they should give us free tickets for that game. And I think there should be dock points. It's absolutely ridiculous and unfair, and all other clubs, and messing about with other clubs, especially City. Spurs are getting away with it, getting away with murder. I really can't believe any other club would have got away with this. Maybe some of the top 6, but a lower placed club wouldn't have got away with it. If you remember way back, I think it was Middlesbrough, they said they couldn't field a team and they didn't turn up for a game, and they were docked 3 points, and actually that season they were actually relegated, and you could argue it was those 3 points that got them relegated, that docking of the points. So I don't see why Spurs can't be docked. There's got to be some sort of deterrent to stop another club going down this route. I mean, Chelsea, looking at redeveloping their ground, they might be away for 3 or 4 years. And you don't want this situation again where a club's looking at their own personal reasons and trying the best to satisfy themselves rather than do what's right and proper by the other teams that are affected. So yeah, that's my preference would be a big fine and a docking of some points, and yeah, teach Spurs a lesson, and it will stop anybody else doing the same. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks, and maybe we'll find out the reasons why City have gone down this route to accept this deferment of the game by another day. Let's hope so. I mean, I can't see any good reason for it, and let's see what City have got to say for themselves. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please, it's dead simple. Down below the video, there's a red button and it says subscribe, so just click on that. If you click on the bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as we put out new videos. And it'd be great to have you on board for the season. And yeah, just keep following us on Twitter, on YouTube, on other social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well. And if you see us at games, just pop along to speak to Andy or myself and have a chat, get your opinion across to the other fans. See you around, Blues.